All right, we are Wednesday. Market closed. Fed has had their little statement and their Q&A. So market closed lower at low of day, very bearish. A nice cold shower for everyone. It's exactly what we thought would happen. Sideways down on Fed. Keep it simple. They're here to hike rates. They're here to tame inflation. They're serious about it. I don't think they're gonna succeed, but they're definitely going to give it a good shot. And everyone's waiting for some pivot or, early signs of maybe slowing the rate increase. Forget about it. Inflation is running at 8.5%, probably more. Unofficially, probably double. Um, it's the worst case scenario. I mean, inflationary depression is what we probably have coming at the moment. So anyway, the worst thing possible is high inflation, hyperinflation, let's say. Um, so I believe that they're going to target this inflation. They say they are. Powell doesn't really care about the politics at the moment. So in short, rates are going higher for longer, and the market is way overpriced still. And I don't think the market participants really understand that this is it's still an orderly decline, but for me, markets are going to go lower. They have to. There's no real reason for them to go up. There's not going to be some surprise peace treaty in Ukraine. Even if there was, the market was going down before this Ukraine crisis. So you probably have a nice strong bounce, but ultimately rates are going up, markets going down. So SPY close at low of day, very ugly. We're going to go down here, test the 372. And just, as I've said this whole time, even when we're going higher, we're going to test this low. We might bounce a little bit, have a nice pattern. Probably have to draw a new. I don't want it to get too noisy over here with trend lines, but they do count. At least these ones here that I'm drawing, in my opinion. So we might go here, might bounce a little bit, but whatever. Then we flush, test this low, bounce a little bit, and then absolute new lows, panic, and all that stuff. That was the SPY. Here's the Nasdaq. Very similar, very close to testing those lows. Dow Jones actually is already there, so underperforming, but also down 1.7%, so in line with the others. But normally it's pretty defensive and not as low on a down day. The Russell 2000 would normally be low. It's actually outperforming, but it doesn't really matter at this point. They're all going to go test their let's call it July lows, including the absolute low on the 16th, but they'll probably bounce before they get there. So yeah, ominous stuff. The VIX did exactly what I thought, which is to test 30, crack 28, test 30, close just below 28, but really just. It's probably above it in after hours. But this is what I wanted to see as sort of confirmation. Probably would have expected a bit more of a move, let's say, or at least a close. But yeah, there's going to be quite a lot of resistance here around. And you can see we've already drawn the trend lines. The resistance circle, I like this circle. So let's say 30 to 32 will be pretty tough resistance. But yeah, market's low. And one thing I also suggested to look out for was this swing, this seesaw or whatever I called it. Now, sometimes it happens on the minute when you have news come out, but right now you've got this sort of statement, and then you have the Q&A. So what happened is the statement, we're going to raise rates 75, okay. Immediate reaction was everything down again, and then okay, let's find a bit of our footing, and then basically we went back up a little bit. And then during the Q&A, not that much, we didn't go back to the point of where it flushed from, but during the Q&A there was a bit of reassurance, but which surprised me. I thought, really, we're gonna go up? And then boom, back to reality. And like I've always said, on event days, it's where it closes. You get these sort of knee-jerk reactions as institutions position themselves, but where did we close? At the absolute low of day, looking very ugly. So all of this is irrelevant, the whole thing. That's the market. It's not going to go into it or repeat myself in different ways. Very ugly. So we're back to regularly scheduled programming. And my thesis remains the same from the very first video. So that keeps it simple. Yields actually went up all the way down, but didn't go back up again, as you would expect. They probably will. A lot of participants noticed that the 2-year cracked 4% today. CNBC were all over it. So that's important to keep an eye on. We've gone through them already. They're all sort of following the same pattern, more yield inversion patterns. As you can see, the front end of 1 year stronger, 2-year, then it gets a bit weaker. So you can see that's pure inversion in play. Let's ignore Europe today because they kind of closed before Powell spoke. I think you're just going to have yields go up. Maybe not too much because they've had a crazy move. But markets are going to go down. So the DAX, for example, the German market, let's zoom out here. Had a nice bounce, and I said, watch this 12,600. It will probably close. Will probably open at or below the low of the day today, tomorrow, if you get what I mean. So tomorrow will open sort of here at the low and probably test 12,400, just like I've said. And let's see if we even crack below it. Let's see where we close. Maybe all of this low of day, this all-time low is probably for next week because we're Thursday tomorrow. So I expect the DAX to be chilling towards the absolute lows, just to coincide with what's happening in the US markets. Okay, the US markets are not there yet, but the DAX has been underperforming. They'll all crack their relative lows, so no problem there. The dollar moved all the way up, which is usual when there's panic, when there's a run to the dollar, when they sell stocks, hold cash, when yields go up, when there's fear, when the VIX is up. So totally normal stuff. We closed at a new high, 111, very strong. The march to 120 resumes. It's not going to get there in one go, but it's not that much more to go now. We've closed above this sort of long-term strategic ascending resistance. So that's pretty impressive. I thought it was going to get a bit weak here, but with the Fed speaking, it's going to ignore that. You could have an RSI of totally overbought. It doesn't matter. Things can stay overextended. So especially on sort of strategic days like today where you have the Fed speaking. So now let's look at gold and silver. Very impressive because everything market related, risk on related was lower. Gold, however, although it followed the same sort of trajectory as the markets, it actually closed the day up. Now, I did say we might have a crazy candle because of this swing, and that's what we had. But more importantly, we closed green. Silver, very green. And actually, during the day, it broke out. And you can see this line I've drawn. I mentioned how relatively strong we were. And we did break out of this. Was it today? I think it was also today. Yeah, 21st. So we broke out of it, came back down, and then so came back down with the Fed, the Q&A. Basically, okay, we came down with the markets, but we closed green. Silver is still very, very strong. Watch that 20 break. By the time we get to 20, maybe even tomorrow, who knows? By then, we'll be testing this resistance up here, and it'll probably coincide with this downtrend line here, which is actually a very significant downtrend line. It starts from here, touches there, and we'll touch there. That's 4 times, very credible over the space of several months. And again, it's all stemming from this massive breakout. So I liked it. I wanted it at 18. It didn't get there, but I have already bought back. So I'm happy with what I hold. Today, I did no trades. I just watched. I wanted to see how we closed. I remember once on a Fed day, it was really beautiful, strong. I thought that's it. And I bought some, so I think it was also silver stocks. And then the next day, we just crashed down. But that was all the markets crashing. So who knows? Yeah, that was a good day, and then it ended up crashing the next day. So does that mean we go up tomorrow? No, we're going to keep going down. But silver, very, very strong. So the moment I see markets turning, I'm going to be buying some silver stocks, because that will really outperform. But I'm happy with what I hold. But anyway, that's something to take note of. Silver still remains very strong. but gold also closed green. So, and you compare it to everything else, which was basically red. I'm not talking about commodities, I'm talking about general markets. Very, very impressive. I think a lot of people took note of that. Those watching the gold space should take note of that. Especially with gold already having flushed at sort of 1670, 1680 zone, you'd expect weakness to be easy. Path of least resistance is down, but I think we have some buying, really very impressive. Now let's look at the GDX and GDXJ. Here they've got this tug of war going on. You've got silver that's up, gold that's up, but really silver that's really giving them a reason to be up. And they did close green, which is impressive. But you had the markets down. So they were sort of pushed and pulled between both, but they ended up. And again, you compare it to, now I've got a lot of commodities here, but if I just scroll down after all the gold stocks, look at the banks. Okay, crypto actually was also a bit up, but here's my 3D printing. Here are normal metals. These are some good dividend paying stocks. Copper, everything is red. Here's when you get into the, okay, this is uranium that usually does quite well. Oil, okay, but biotechs, the large caps, just basically everything was red following the market. But then when you look at the GDX, GDXJ, very, very green. Okay, I've lost mine. Well, just green a little bit, but still green stands out. So very impressive. Gold, silver, green, silver very green, and the miners a little bit green, but still impressive. Now, if the markets keep tanking, they have to go down. I'm sorry. But I think this is a buy zone. That's probably why they're quite strong here. And they've been strong here for a while. They've been outperforming the last 3 or 4 trading days. So it's just good to see. And, even if we start to roll over, it's still a good buy. I mean, obviously, it's better to buy down here if it gets there, but it means when the market turns, they will outperform. They should. So, yeah, I've already bought this range, so I didn't have to buy anymore. I just watched today. That's all I'll really cover for the metals. I want to do another video on the large caps, maybe quickly over the portfolio, just sort of mirrors what I've covered in the GDX and the GDXJ. So Barrick Gold, sideways, nothing crazy. Newmont, I would have expected it to be a bit stronger, but basically sideways down, nothing. If it's not more than 1%, it's irrelevant. Agnico Eagle chilling at its lows. Wheaton, same sort of chart pattern. Pan American Silver, which has been very strong recently. As with silver, I did say it might make a move here and that I would sell it. I didn't sell it because I wasn't looking to trade anything today, but actually it was very close to hitting it. So very strong, relatively speaking. Although I sold it there and bought it back, so I'm very happy. Mag Silver was very strong during the day. I remember up being 5%. I think it was up about 5% during the day. Very strong, but then again, it's silver related, so not too surprising. Yamana, strong support at its lows here on ascending. Goldfields finding a bit of support at its lows after breaking down from the channel. Actually, maybe this is a bit of a trend line to watch here. Yeah, I should have that drawn. So Goldfields is good. First Majestic, sideways, quite a bit off its lows. I mean, some of these, especially the silver stocks, are not trading at their lows. And again, the actual miners are outperforming the actual general market. So it's relatively pretty strong. Fortuna kind of at its lows, ready for a breakout, a bit like CDE did a few days ago. EXK just above its lows. CD had a crazy move. It's been very volatile. Off. This is a good buy because it's had good news and it's just been forced lower because of the markets. TPRFF, I've already bought that at the lows. It's a good stock. These two aren't really trading despite what they say. FTCO finding support after the flush. Rayner, not much volume, but I think should go higher. Basically, nothing happened. It's just, I mean, it just went sideways. No huge move, just like the GDX, just like the GDXJ, but still, green is impressive. Silver is very impressive. And the markets keep going down, so not the worst place to hide. when you have a profitable day after everyone else gets a little bit crushed. But then again, tomorrow I expect more selling. By Friday, we'll be touching some of those lows. To go back to the SPY, by Thursday, by tomorrow, Thursday or Friday, we'll be here. I don't know if we're going to be testing this area, but I think next week we do test the lows, and that's when things get very exciting. So expect everything to go red once we're down here. So yeah, it's exactly what I thought would happen. I hope no one got crushed today. And I think we have a long way down to go. And more importantly, there's a long time, there's a lot of duration. This isn't going to be some, flush down here, V bottom. It's not how it works. It's especially with the backstory, we're here to tame inflation, and it's only going to be confirmed when rates go up higher, much higher. And if it's not much higher, much longer, it's going to be at least several months. They need to be sure. You can't. Probably one of the worst things is inflation drops and then they say, okay, that's it. Well, no more raising of interest rates. We're going to hold, or we're going to instantly cut. No, they're going to wait, maybe hold interest rates at 4 or 5% for a few months. By then, the whole economy is crashing and recession, depression probably. But the point is, they need to make sure that inflation is tamed and it's not a one-off. They probably have to wait for 1, 2, 3 prints, and even there, slowly let their foot off the accelerator, if you want. So that takes time. So you're not going to get a strong V bounce. You're going to get some sort of, well, you will get a V bottom at some point, but it's not going to be some massive Corona style, oh, we're printing money to infinity. It's going to be quite the opposite. So once we get down here, I think we'll be flushing, but it'll be an orderly decline, and then we'll see. I don't want to look too far into the future, but the point is, the trend is down. The trend is your friend. Don't fight the Fed, and don't be buying options. Don't be going on margin and buying small increments. Always assuming that the market's going to go lower. You need to have something to look forward to. It's a psychological hedge for yourself, and buy big, large cap companies, not these speculative ones with high debt. This is not the time to be a hero, and you wouldn't be a hero. You'd just be a gambler at that point. And if you do want to do something crazy like that, just do a 1, 2, 5 day swing or day trade. Okay, that's it. Look forward to tomorrow's video and tomorrow's market action. Thank you for entertaining the video.